Hi, this is Don Schaefer. Welcome back to Session 2, our tour of the SWEBOK in our MOOC on Stop Writing Embarrassing Software Code. For Discussion 2, we're going to talk about the KAs of software testing, software maintenance, and software configuration management. Let's look first at software testing. Software testing consists of the dynamic verification that a program provides expected behaviors on a finite set of test cases. Those test cases have been suitably selected from the usually infinite execution domain. In that definition, what we looked at and focused on were the idea of dynamic, where this term means that testing always implies executing the program on selected inputs. We looked at the concept of it being finite. Even in simple programming, so many test cases are theoretically possible that exhaustive testing would require months or years to execute. The idea of selection, where that many proposed test techniques differ essentially is in how the test set is selected. Software engineers must be aware that different selection criteria may yield vastly different degrees of effectiveness within my testing. And then finally, expected. It must be possible, although not always easy, to decide whether the observed outcomes of program testing are acceptable or not. That idea of having an acceptable criteria is very important. As I look at the KA itself, I can look at software testing fundamentals. Within my fundamentals, I'm going to be looking at testing related terminology and the relationship of testing to other activities within my knowledge areas and within my life cycle. I'm also going to look at the test levels. What's the target of the test? What's the objectives that I'm looking to get out of my testing? Is it a real-time system? Is it a database system? Is it heavily user interface influenced? What are my test techniques? Are they going to be based on the software engineer's intuition experience? Is there some domain-based technique, code-based, and so on? Also, you want to look at within the requirements, are there specific laws? Are there regulations? Is it an accounting system? Do I have generally accepted accounting procedures? Is it a safety critical system? Must I address safety issues? I want to look at some test-related measures of evaluation of the program under test and evaluation of the test performed. The test process itself, I've looked at the practical consideration and the test activities. I can't have 1,000 people pushing against the code. I may only have 2 or 3. I've got to look at automated testing. I've got to look at how do I get all these people organized if I do have a lot of testing. And then finally, in the testing tools, what kind of test tool support do I have and the categories of the tools. Test tool support may be as simple as just some type of editor that I have available, or it may be as complex as having a fully automated suite and an entire set of model-based tests. Next, let's take a look at software maintenance. When I look at software maintenance, the idea that development differs, or that development efforts are going to result in the delivery of a software product that hopefully satisfies user requirements. The software product is going to change or evolve over time. Once in operation and defects are uncovered, operating environments will change and new requirements surface. The maintenance phase of the life cycle begins following a warranty period or some type of post-implementation support delivery. Maintenance activities also can occur much earlier. I can have maintenance as an integral part of my life cycle, and I'm going to have it that way. And I have to make sure I've got the attention that I want to pay to that. When I look at my software maintenance, that entirety of this knowledge area, you can look at the definitions and terminology, the nature of maintenance, need for it. All these fundamentals are very well written up within the knowledge area. But what I want to look at some key issues in the software maintenance. Some of them are technical issues, and that technical issue is because I'm going to be evolving over time my software. And some of the things that may change is the platform that I'm working on may change. I may have started out on a interesting set of servers that I control within my environment. Now I may be moving to a cloud. How do I handle maintenance in that case? I've got management issues and management changes, and not all senior management is aware of all the intricacies of doing software maintenance. That's up to you as either a program manager or a professional software engineer to make sure management understands that. How do I have good cost estimation within the maintenance area? How do I know when I'm investing the right amount of money in keeping my system going? And then how do I measure software maintenance? Those are all critical parts within my knowledge area. I also want to understand the process and the activities. I'm going to have different processes and different activities depending on the type of software I'm maintaining and also the life of that software. The users, how many users do I have? Is this piece of software some embedded kernel that's running part of my operating system, or is it on the web and it's all web-based and I've got an enormous user interface to take care of? You'll have different activities for those. What are some of my techniques of maintenance? Well, one of the first ones is understanding the program that you're working on. Do I do re-engineering or reverse engineering? Am I migrating? Do I have to move for retirement? All those have different techniques. Also, the idea of reverse engineering, when I want to be able to move some of my code from one platform to another, I may want to do some reverse engineering to make sure I've got all the techniques and all the requirements that are part and parcel of that code. Once my software has been delivered and I'm really working within the environment for my software, the only thing that really exists that's probably going to be true and accurate is the code itself. So as programs age, all the documentation isn't necessarily kept up to date, but my code hopefully will be up to date. And finally, in this discussion, we want to talk about configuration management and the idea of software configuration management. When I look at a system, it can be defined as a combination of interacting elements organized to achieve one or more stated purposes. Those were my requirements. I built it, hopefully to solve the requirements issues that I needed. Configuration of a system is the functional and physical characteristics of hardware or software, or both, as set forth in the technical documentation or achieved in a product. It can also be thought of as a collection of specific versions of hardware, firmware, software items combined according to specific build procedures to serve a particular purpose. When I look at managing my configuration, I want to manage exactly how I run the system, exactly how I build the system, exactly how I maintain the system. The management of my software configuration management process is I need to look at the organizational context for configuration management. What are some of the constraints and guidance? How do I plan for it? What is my software configuration management plan? And then how do I monitor configuration management? Configuration management is very critical in keeping my systems up to date, understanding the evolution of my software, and also being able to roll back. I need to be able to roll back if I make a change that maybe wasn't the right change or impacts something that I wasn't aware of. The idea of software configuration identification. I've got configuration items, most times referred to as the capital letters C and I. My CIs are what I have to control, and they're part and parcel of my software library. The level that you maintain at is the level of your configuration items. So you want to be able to understand how those were derived, where they reside. Configuration control is looking at how do I have my approved changes, how do I implement those changes, and is there a deviation and a waiver from the process. This software configuration control is usually part of what's known as a configuration control board. My software configuration status accounting is where I'm looking at all the status information and the status reporting. How many changes have I made? When do I make those changes? Configuration auditing, I'm going to look at the functional configuration, the physical configuration, and then some in-process audits of software baselines. I've got to know what my baseline is. What do I have for my audits? Then on my software release management and delivery, I've got how do I build my software and how do I do my release management. When you're in the middle of software construction, you're going to have lots of tools that you're going to use to be able to adequately build the releases of the software on which you're working. You're going to have tools that reference libraries, that reference all kinds of various aspects that you need to include within that build. Well, as you move forward in time and you're doing maintenance, those are going to change. Configuration management is there to help you manage those changes. And finally, you'll have a set of software configuration management tools. Several of these are discussed within the knowledge area in the SWEBOK. Well, thank you for sitting in on discussion 2 on software testing, software maintenance, and software configuration management. We'll be moving next on to discussion 3 and looking at some of the engineering and engineering management processes and models and methods. Thank you.